Welcome back to the Ben Willett Team Real Estate Referral Spotlight. Today I am joined by Nary of Movement Mortgage. Nate is an Aquidneck Island native of over 20 years of experience in the mortgage industry and is consistently in the top 1% of lenders nationwide per the Scotsman's Guide. Nate's list of accomplishments are lengthy, but what I enjoy most is Nate's personal approach to customer service and being able to handle just about any situation I throw at him. Nate and I have been working together over the past 6 years, and he has personally helped me understanding my financing options and getting me pre-approved on properties in the past. It has been great to work together and learn so much from you, Nate. Thank you so much for joining me.
Ben, thank you so much, man. The pleasure is all mine. So I can't thank you enough for being here and let me be part of this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, what we try and do here at the Ben Willett Team Real Estate Referral Spotlight is get to know the people that help make my company and my approach to helping people so seamless. And using the experience that you have, I really rely on that to be the expert for my client, being able to rely on people like you that are the expert in your field. So thank you very much for adding a little insight today and getting to know you and your business better.
Thanks, man.
So the first thing I really want to just get to do is understand, 20 years in business, what initially led you into the mortgage industry and, what has kept you around doing it for 20 years?
So that's a good question. Basically, I worked at Fidelity right out of school and I bartended. And I bartended for 20 years over here at the Blues Cafe. Love doing that. But what really kind of got me into the mortgage industry was at that point in time, that was 2003, 2004. The market was kind of coming down. The stock market was getting beat up. That was kind of like the rates were kind of going back up again.
Yep.
And what it was is I wasn't a financial advisor yet because I still didn't get my licenses. So I was basically like investor relations, which basically you're kind of handling all the calls from all the people that are losing money or taking money out. So at that point in time, it was a lot of negativity.
Okay. Yep.
So I did that. I learned a lot, which was awesome. But I saw like where the mortgage industry was, and I saw a lot of my friends doing that. I kind of liked the idea of where it was more of like positivity around it. Now the negatives of the mortgage industry back then was like the Wild West. There was very little regulation. There's a lot of chaos. But what I kind of saw was whereas I could kind of really get into an industry, help people, kind of educate people on the different types of mortgage products that I don't think were properly educating at that time, if that makes sense, for like the regular consumer. And that's kind of what really got me into it. And kind of from there, it just worked out.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. When you have something, when you know of something, having that information and being able to educate people to help them in their life, that is like something that you feel positive about, something you feel really good about adding, to your community, helping people in your community.
Absolutely, and very much like you. Like I always see you're involved, you're coaching, you're always helping people. It's just like where you're the same way, like with your field professionally. I see like how you guide and help like new buyers. I see how you're helping like get those people up into the dream homes. I mean, you're literally helping them, and like, you genuinely care about them and helping them personally, which I love. Working with you about. And it's the same thing. I like to consult, help, and make sure a lot of the people I've worked with now, I'm helping their kids. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting I started with first-time home buyers. They got their dream homes. Some of them helped build investment portfolios. They refer their kids, their friends, their family. So it's just nice and rewarding to help people out and help them grow.
And we see that in a small community like Aquidneck Island, where the referrals are so important and mean so much to us because it's confirmation that we did a good job and we made people happy and we helped them. Being a lifelong Aquidneck Islander, growing up in Portsmouth, still living in Portsmouth. Actually, Nate and I are neighbors. My parents are neighbors, and Nate now lives in the house I used to terrorize as a kid, but my best friend lived next door. But having that strong connection here, what are some things which you say, obviously going up, customer service, like I mentioned before, but what is it you like about living here that has kept you living here and has allowed you to kind of create repeat business with realtors as well as buyers?
It's a great question. Honestly, I can go on and on about that, which I'm sure you can as well. I feel like Aquidneck Island is just a great place to be, period. There's so many positive things about Aquidneck Island. As far as a real estate perspective, I mean, it's very insulated. You almost never see properties go down in value. You have a great, a great buyer pool that's like constantly turning over, especially with the military base. So like they feel like the value is very stabilized, the rent's very stable. So it's like it's just a great place to buy and own property, period. Also, too, it's a nice part about it. It's very tight knit, so you see everybody. You know, you go to the market, this grocery store, you're seeing people. So it's nice because you're also held accountable to make sure you're always doing right by people, which makes, I think, my job and your job a lot easier, because I know, like myself, like you, I'm always making sure I'm doing what's best for them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm trying to make sure you fully understand everything like you are. So you genuinely care about everybody that in our community, and you want to help them and accomplish, be the best they can be, do what's right for them.
When you're living and working in your community, you'd rather not take bad business than than do something for a commission. You rely on your word, you rely on your reputation, and that's what is going to, in the long run, make you successful.
Absolutely.
And from when I got into business 7 years ago, you had that really strong reputation, and you actually, but I know you had a track record of being in your business 20 years, being at a couple different places. What is it about where you're at now at Movement Mortgage that you like so much?
I love Movement. I feel like the values align. You know what I mean? They're constantly giving back to the community. They're always looking out for the best interest of not only their employees, but the people that they serve, the consumers, which, not all big banks are, that engraved in making sure we help the bottom line consumer, and do the right thing for the communities that we service. You know what I mean? More importantly, like we put a lot of money. I'm not sure if you heard about Impact Lending Program.
Okay.
So instead of our profits going to a stadium or TV commercials, whatever, our money actually goes back and reinvests into the community. So we have the Movement Mortgage schools that are doing a big difference for a lot of kids in their cities. So we have a whole bunch of charter schools. I think we have 5 already.
Wow.
Right now they're in North Carolina. We're going to Georgia. We're hoping to get some up here in the near future. Also, part of our proceeds donate to local charities. So we're constantly donating to Operation Stand Down. Obviously, because the military is so big around here, we want to make sure we're supporting our military families. Anything that's local, I always try to support. It's baseball, football, lacrosse. Anything we can to just help the community. And the nice part about Movement is they back it. So if I donate $500, Movement's going to donate $500 to match it, which is really
awesome.
Cool, because that's not too many companies are that focused on making sure you're contributing back to the community and helping you do so. So that was one of the big factors for Movement. Also, too, I like the fact that they're really looking out for your long-term customer relationship. You know what I mean? To service your clients. So they actually allow us to, on a case-by-case basis as loan officers, reduce our commissions to allow for no-cost refinances. So obviously a big thing right now, rates a little bit high. We know that rates are most likely going to go down in the next 6 to 12 months, or in the foreseeable future at some point. We're allowed to basically give the same rate, no closing costs, to allow them to refinance into the best terms available for them down the road.
That's something that I speak to a lot about buyers in this environment that we're in right now in the current market, and that's kind of what I want to segue into next, is that ability to, people have probably seen or heard the term "marry the house, date the rate."
Date the rate.
The rate's going to change, the price of the house isn't. So if it's okay to buy in a little bit of a higher mortgage rate environment, because you have that ability to refinance and date the rate. And by your company offering that free refinance, obviously there's probably some terms and conditions that needs to fall into, time frames and things.
Of course.
Kind of is a great tool to use for those home buyers that have a little hesitancy to jump into the market. But on that note, we recently saw that the Fed came out with their report at their first meeting, kind of forecasting rate cuts going forward, and the numbers that they look at to evaluate the market and the economy. Those reports essentially said that they weren't making cuts yet. They weren't forecasted for the March meeting, but that is very typical year over year, not to make cuts this earlier in the year, and needing to see a little bit more evidence. So I wanted to get your opinion on the report from Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve about everything going on in the monetary policy right now, and kind of the short to medium time frame of what to expect over the next 6 months to a year, and what that means for buyers and sellers.
Yes, I mean, you really nailed it. So basically, again, the Fed has been consistent. That's one thing we've got to give them. Now they basically said it's going to be data dependent. They're not going to be, not going to rush to cut. They want to make sure there's more than enough overwhelming data to support those cuts. And so far things are trending in the right direction. I mean, you are seeing that, they're acknowledging the fact that they're probably going to be cutting at some point this year. I think they kind of alluded to expecting 2 cuts. Now, how many cuts and when they cut, that's $1 million question. We don't, that's going to be fully data dependent, and that's going to, a lot of speculation is going to kind of drive the needle there of what people expect as far as rates go. So you're not going to see a straight decline in interest rates, but I think overall you will see them kind of stabilize and slowly go down. Now it doesn't go straight down; it's going to go up and down, but it's going to trend downward. So I mean, when, for example, the Fed meeting was addressed on Thursday.
Yep.
They came out, interest rates dropped. The jobs report came out on Friday, came out a lot hotter than expected, and then interest rates, are going up at the moment. Now, that's going to happen, and again, it's data dependent, and the Fed, they were very transparent on what they're looking at and what they want. So it looks like a lot of stuff is falling in line. We know inflation is going down. So, I mean, the majority of what we're looking for is positive and for interest rates going downward. But as far as when rates are going to drop and how quickly they're going to drop and how much they're going to drop at each time, that's the $1 million question that nobody really knows. Right. 12 months from now, will interest rates be lower? I think it's a safe bet to say yes, but is it going to be drop in 6 months, 3 months,
right.
8 months? Who knows?
and that's the conversation I'm having with my buyers and sellers as well. Specifically, buyers, they ask the question: when are rates going to drop? When are rates going to drop? When am I going to be able to afford to buy a house? And I actually, honestly encourage them. I say, I think now is your best possible time.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, like we talked about, dating the rate, but is the amount of demand that will come into the market when those rates do drop.
Yes.
The competition is already out there, demand is there, but if rates do drop, we will see undoubtedly the affordability rising and a lot more people going out and looking to shop to buy a home. Now there may be some more inventory. We all have our fingers crossed for more inventory. That's been about a 2-year problem right now. But I don't think there's going to be so much inventory that will outpace demand. So I do think that, if you are looking to buy a house in the next 6 to 12 months or anywhere before that as well, now is the best possible time for all those reasons that we just talked about.
I think you nailed it because, right now you're starting to see prices kind of stabilize a little bit. You're finally seeing a little bit of negotiations come back, which that was unheard of, during the COVID period and even in the last few years, except for a few moments where the interest rates kind of ticked up a little bit. But you're actually seeing it more of a level playing field for the most part. But like you said, when interest rates go down, more buyers come into the market, then that supply and demand curve gets a little bit further off, and then that's when you get the bidding wars all over again, the prices go up. So I think you nailed it. As far as you can't change what you're paid for the home, but you can change your interest rate. So I think that's always a big thing to consider. And also, as long as you're getting a good deal is a good deal. You know what I mean? So, and there's no one better than you to be able to explain if a good deal is I always ask you. Right. So hey Ben, what's going on here? What are we looking at for rents? What are we looking at for purchase prices? So I mean, if something makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if you have a game plan, it's a lot easier to make sense of everything.
That's some awesome insight, Nate. Thank you so much for that. What are some other things that you can do to help buyers, whether it's early in the process getting started or along the time of having their offer in all the way to the closing? What are some of the other services you offer to your clients in the buying process?
Absolutely. So I think again I think we work together very well in this regard. So obviously, if someone's looking to buy, a lot of times they're not really sure if they're in the best position or how to get in that best position to make sure they get the best terms when they do actually go into contract. Yep. So I think it's the best. I always think it's a good thing to be at least 6 months in advance. You know what I mean? So if you think you're gonna really start hitting the housing market, your home search, and in June, you want to start in January, right. Just to make sure your credit's the best it can possibly be. You've kind of gotten your feet wet. You understand everything. It's not like you're kind of just going in there and it's all new. And what that does is it gives you confidence. You know what I mean? The more you know and the better you're kind of set up for success, the more successful you're going to be.
And sometimes, right, there's just things that are fixable, a credit issue, or you need certain certain letters from your job if you haven't been there soon enough, and they can start kind of gathering that information early on to be in that right position.
Absolutely, and you know better than anybody. The more qualified you are, and the more solid your pre-approval letter is.
Right.
the better odds you're going to get a better deal.
Yep.
So yeah, I offer a free credit rescore. So if there's a way we can rescore your credit, we pay for that, and bump up the score. And that's really important because a lot of these programs, for example, like when they're doing the $17,500 grant through Rhode Island Housing, you need to have a 660 credit score or higher. So if you're at a 550, whatever below that, usually to get your score to 660 is usually very attainable. So as long as you have some time to do that, it's again, position yourself to the best you can be. Also, too, it's what I love about working on the island with you is so many people. You know what I mean? So the amount of value you can provide in all different aspects is amazing. I remember going to your event, and I ended up getting hooked up with Brandon, who did my deck. So it's just really cool that the amount of people and how you network. There's always value that can be provided in so many different areas. Whether that's hey, just what can I do with this investment property? Is it better to sell it? Better to rent it? Is it better to put in a 1031 exchange, buy another property? You have all different outlets to provide your client with all the best information available. So I think the ability to educate and help and provide that knowledge to ensure that is benefiting our clients is huge.
Yep. So. And they have the right people on their team. Continuing to put them with the right people on the team is what it's all about. And that are gonna, you have almost a responsibility to me, and I almost have one to you because we have so many mutual
100%.
clients.
I always look at myself an extension of you.
Correct.
So I'm part of your reputation. I take that very seriously.
Right.
So I want to make sure that above anything else, I'm representing you properly. I'm representing the client properly. You have to be selfless. You know what I mean? You have to do what's right, and you got to make sure we're putting them first and putting ourselves in their shoes.
And that's kind of how I look at the Ben Willett team. People always ask me who's on my team. I was like, well, I got the best lenders, I got the best attorneys, I got the best insurance people, and you really know that your inspectors, your plumbers, all the people that you are providing to help people in their home journey. And it's not just, because you want to be there for them when they need you to sell a house, but you want them to be thinking of you all the time. So you need to be just really good with your word and have the best people around you to service them. So being locals, luckily we have a strong reputation and a strong network of people to help us out. And Nate, always a pleasure to have you in my corner, helping my clients. Thank you for joining us today, adding a little insight to what's going on in the current market. And thank you. We'll love to have you back again.
Thank you so much, man. Can't thank you enough.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
Well, thank you for joining the Ben Willett Team Referral Spotlight. We'll see you next time.